Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monterey Bay Aquarium's Kelp Forest exhibit webcam. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning here in Monterey, California. My name is Kristin. I'm part of the staff here at the aquarium, and I'm joined by our diver, Patrick, because it is time to feed some of the fish. Now, Patrick's all set up to chat with us. Yes?
Yeah, we're live. We just went live right as this leopard shark decided to go grab some breakfast directly from the bucket. Good morning, Kristin. Good morning, everybody who's watching online. Hello, everybody on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Twitter, on Periscope, and our website as well. Thank you so much for tuning in for breakfast in the kelp forest.
Yes, the sharks are really excited. I can see one of our girls nuzzling up against your shoulder there, but so are the smaller fish.
Yeah.
I can see you getting some small food out in handfuls real quick there. So before the sharks really dominate the scene, what are those small handfuls that you've been tossing side to side?
Yeah, so what we've got in here is some of Monterey's finest seafood, basically a bucket of chopino, and no, there's no food for you yet. Not yet, no, and a little bit. So in those handfuls, I've got some chopped up squid, which you folks out there, if you've been watching the Monterey Bay cam, you may have seen that there's a very active squid fishery in the Monterey Bay at the moment, catching that California market squid. We've also got some chopped up prawns in here, as well as some chopped up bait fish there for all of the fish. You can see that all of these fishes are coming in very close here to try to grab some of those bits. There's also little gel cubes, or some basically broccoli or kale, if you will, for the fish mixed in there as well.
Yeah, now the gel cubes, those are the square looking objects you see flinging out. They're not literally made with broccoli, but it's kind of like how you and I eat those healthy things on our plate. We've got vitamins and nutrients mixed up in gelatin, and the fish love it. So really, they're very good about taking their vitamins and eating their vegetables.
Exactly right. And so we're handing out just all part of a balanced breakfast here at the aquarium with all of these fishes here. And you can see the sharks are looking to grab some directly from me. So that's what I'm gonna start doing now. There you go. Oh, these are little puppy dogs, Kristin. It's always so fun to have these leopard sharks come up to you. In the wild, when I've seen leopard sharks, they wanted nothing to do with my bubbly personality. So here at the aquarium, it's always a treat to come diving and actually have the sharks be interested in you. In the wild, you rarely see a shark unless it thinks it's hidden, like an angel shark or something. Did you want some prawn? No?
She's thinking about it.
She's
thinking about it.
Oh, okay. She got a little bit shy just then.
Yes, that's okay. One of the other girls is up by your hands right now. Now, who's this speckly fish swimming right by the shark's head? There's just coming around your side here. This
right
is
here?
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, so this right here are my little friend hanging out on the arm. This right here is a female kelp greenling, and she is one of the feistiest fish that we have in here. Kelp greenling are a fish that you can see them think underwater. They're assessing the situation. They're very cunning and clever. And so that female kelp greenling is probably one of the main culprits responsible for stealing the food that I might have ready for the sharks that I have in my hand. So very good. Oh, and we've got a shark.
Now, Patrick, you might not have seen this interaction, but like you said, the kelp greenling was very feisty. She got right up in the middle of that hungry shark, and it looked like our leopard shark had feelings about that. Our leopard shark took the kelp greenling's tail in her mouth and gave it a yank, and then did not eat the greenling.
Yeah, so that's part of the thing that we're doing here at the moment here, Kristin, as you know very well, that what we're doing in handing out this food is making sure that we're keeping the peace here with the neighbors. So what we do is we make sure that we're hand feeding all of these animals enough so that they're not too interested in going after their tank mates. And I'm sure that there's a cordial understanding between the kelp greenling and the leopard shark that we're all just trying to get a same little bit of food here from the buffet. So what we're doing right now is making sure that all the animals are fed well enough that they're not interested in swimming after something that swims away.
Right. That's a great way to make sure they don't eat each other. Make sure everyone's so full it's not worth the effort. By the way, there's so many animals around you right now. It's sometimes hard to see your face.
Yeah.
Do you know about how many kinds of fish we have in the kelp forest exhibit currently?
Well, that's a great question. So we have several thousand fish, as you can see, and we have 18 species of rockfish. I believe it fluctuates between lower 30s and upper 30s in terms of species. And what's really interesting about the kelp forest exhibit here, Kristin, is that it's really a showcase of kelp forests that you find in Southern California and in Northern California, kind of a mixture that we have here in the Monterey Bay. So some more Southern California species, or more typical down there, are these leopard sharks here, the giant sea bass on my lower left there on your right, these opali are recent additions to the local area, and we also have some more northern fish, some of the rockfish that we have in here. So it's sort of a mixture, and one of my favorite things is that we have so many different types of perch and rockfish in this kelp forest exhibit, which is something that you really don't see anywhere else where you're diving, Kristin. Monterey is sort of the perch capital of the world, and the Northeast Pacific is the rockfish capital of the world. So very unique cast of critters in here in the kelp forest.
Yeah, that's why it's so fun to get to share all these animals in the Monterey Bay Aquarium, because while we focus on these local areas, Monterey is really at that overlap between the northern and southern habitats. Patrick, I have to say you are very popular with the fish and with our guests.
Okay.
Some of our guests are wondering how they get the job of feeding the kelp forest animals.
That's an excellent question, and Kristin, I was going to ask you, do we have a bunch of folks tuning in all around? Obviously, I'm underwater, my phone doesn't work, or like the new ads say that it might work down here, but I usually do the social media for the aquarium. Obviously, I can't tweet while underwater, so I assume people are watching. And the way that you do this job, everybody, is you basically never let go of the dream of wanting to do it. We have loads of volunteer divers here at the aquarium. They're not currently here due to the coronavirus, but hoping to get them back here at the aquarium very soon. So hello, hi to the Leopard Shark first of all, and hello to the volunteers that might be tuning in. We miss you. I can tell you that these windows could use your attention. They're being cleaned right now by our staff, but the volunteers have a special touch there. So the way that you do this particular show is you want to learn how to scuba dive first of all. You want to get comfortable in cold water because the water that I'm in right now is actually pretty warm in the upper 50s. So you want to get comfortable in cold water, and then you need to do a little bit of experience with rescue diving, become a competent underwater diver, and then do some scientific diving if you can, and then apply and see if you can get on one of the dive shifts. I'm on one of those dive shifts on Thursday afternoons.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot of fun.
Not to mention that we do have jobs and volunteer jobs for lots of divers here at the aquarium if this interests you. Now, you mentioned that our volunteers aren't here because we're closed for shelter in place, and some of our guests were actually wondering how we can help the aquarium right now. It depends on where you're watching, for example. I know if you're on our website, right below the webcam is a button where you can donate directly, and that helps our mission and helps us to take care of the animals you're seeing right now.
Absolutely, yeah. For the folks who might be wondering how you can help the aquarium, most of the functioning of the aquarium throughout the year is paid for by visitors, which we don't have at the moment. So one of the big ways you can help us out is by going to our website or below any of our webcams on our website. You might be watching. Yes, I know. You really want to donate too. Yeah. So you can head over to our website and donate. That is going to go directly to pay for the seafood and to help with everything that we have going on at the aquarium while we prepare for reopening. If you're watching on Twitch, you can subscribe to our channel, and if any of you folks out there are watching and you have an Amazon Prime account, you can actually just link your Amazon Prime account to a Twitch, and then you can subscribe to the aquarium, and that'll give us some money directly from that subscription. But in essence, anything you can do to support the aquarium, whether through a donation, extending your membership, or giving that direct donation, is really going to help us out right now. We really do appreciate any of you folks out there considering doing so. It really helps us out directly while we're closing. We really do hope to see you again soon.
Patrick, our animals certainly are enjoying that delicious support that we're passing out right now. You've got such a cool relationship. We've got the kelp greenling up there. The sharks are nuzzling you. We got this little girl swimming through your hose right now.
Yep.
Do you know how old the sharks are?
Oh, it's an excellent question. I don't know any of the individuals how old they are, and actually, unless we know when they were born, it can be rather difficult to know exactly how old a shark is. As a cartilaginous fish, they don't lay down rings on their ear bones as well as a lot of the bony fish in here. So I don't know how to tell a living shark how old it is. You really have to wait until it is an ex-shark, as it were. So I don't know, Kristen, do you know any of these individuals, how old they might be? They're a few years old, certainly, but I don't know exactly how old.
Yeah, that's an important question. You know, actually, that's something that I might follow up with Kelsey, who's our kelp forest aquarist here, see if she's got records on some of these animals and if we happen to know what year they were born. Because while we have a great relationship with these sharks, it seems to be a bit more one-on-one. Although, unlike your relationship with your pets and your friends and your family, we don't have names for our sharks.
Right.
So we have a great relationship that involves a lot less conversations.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the sharks come over. They're sort of like your friends that you see all the time, but you've forgotten what their name is exactly. At this point, you've been together so long, it's awkward to ask. Pretty much where we're at.
You know, Patrick, you did mention that this is kind of the perch capital of the world, and you are surrounded by perch right now. We've got some gorgeous rainbow surf perch that are getting a lot of love online.
Absolutely.
I love these animals, too, because they're one of the animals that gives live birth, which means they have babies here in the kelp forest.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm surrounded by a couple different species of perch right now. These here are some striped perch. They've got the horizontal lines on them. A little bit lower is a baby striped perch, but we also, there's my rainbow perch right here in front of me that you were mentioning. Beautiful, beautiful fish. We also have over here a teeny tiny little kelp perch, and over here on this left side, actually hiding behind the piling here, these are our kelp perch, and those are very commonly breeding in the kelp forest exhibit. And like you said, Kristen, they have live young, so every once in a while you see a rather rotund perch with a tiny little tail sticking out the rear end, and that's one of those perch that's giving birth here in the exhibit. So many different styles of reproduction in the kelp forest, and these perch, like this striped perch right here, are going to be giving those live births, so you might get to see more little babies.
Yeah, we get to have families together here in the kelp forest. You know, we have lots of little perch, but the sharks look pretty big compared to them. Do the sharks outgrow the kelp forest exhibit? I know there's a lot of species of sharks in the world who get to a lot of different sizes.
Yeah, it's a good question. So we often will have our younger leopard sharks over in the aviary, and they'll then graduate over into the kelp forest, and when they get bigger than the kelp forest is comfortable for, then they'll go over to the Monterey Bay Habitats exhibit. So we do have that happen where these animals get larger and larger, and then they tend to move on to those larger exhibits. So that's a great question.
We've got a 3-stage progression through our exhibits.
Yeah.
You know, you have so many happy animals eating all the food that you're bringing them right now. In fact, it looks like one of your containers got a little empty. Our guests are wondering how you know to bring the right amount of food in here.
That's a great question. So we have a dedicated team of aquarists. Shout out to all of the aquarists that have been working so hard, keeping these animals so very well taken care of during this time. And we also have a dedicated team of veterinarians like Dr. Mike, Marissa, Aaron, and they do a lot of checkups on these animals. And we can actually tell from those checkups whether or not we need to vary the diet, change out certain animals, certain food items to make sure that they're doing okay. So as you can see, the fish are very active at the moment, but the water is also very warm. Their metabolism changes based on the temperature of the water. Metabolism just being how much energy you use. So when the water is warmer, all the fish tend to get a little bit more jumpy, a little bit more excited. When it cools down, they tend to slow down a little bit. So it's constantly being monitored by our aquarists to make sure that it's adjusted to the proper diet for everybody.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Right, because we know that proper amount of food is a great way to make sure everyone gets along, so all the sharks and the small fish are together. You know, you've got your fingers right by our sharks' mouths. So some of our guests are wondering if you've ever been bit by the sharks or if you have to do anything special to keep them from biting you.
It's a very good question. Yeah, I've only ever been nibbled on by the swell shark because I didn't realize that it was going to come up for the show. The swell shark is usually hiding in the back of the exhibit, and it came up while I was talking to, just like to you, Kristen, right now looking out this way. The swell shark just came over and grabbed the squid that I had in my hand. Now, the sharks that we have in this exhibit, they have very, very small, sharp teeth, but it's more like Velcro to my glove. So the main consideration when hand feeding these leopard sharks is you don't want to get their finger in their mouth, because if you do, the teeth might get stuck on your glove like that piece of tape that you can't shake off, and you just have a leopard shark at the end of your finger. That's just really embarrassing. The main animal in here that I'm looking out for, if it ever comes by, is the male sheephead, because it has very strong, powerful, crunching jaws that it uses to smash open sea urchins and lobster, crabs, and other things with hard shells. So that's the main fish that I look out for, because that can feel like slamming your finger in a door. But
Well, I don't see the male sheephead, but I did see a swim by from our baby giant sea bass. She came over to say hi and take a little look. How's she doing?
Yeah, so the little baby giant sea bass, she seems to be hanging out at the bottom of the exhibit right now. She gets a little bit intimidated by the leopard sharks when they're coming by. The training sessions, yes, you want to play in the bubbles? The training sessions that our staff like Kelsey have been doing with the sea basses, the leopard sharks have kind of started to insert themselves into the training because they figure that there's food there for them. So right now the baby giant sea bass is right down here. She's kind of looking up, wondering when will the commotion finish up. So she's looking up. She says hi, but she's a little bit shy right now for the breakfast.
You know, with some of the animals, like you said, seeming a little intimidated with all the action, do we need to do anything special to make sure all the animals get fed in the way they need?
Yeah, it's a great question. So for a lot of the larger animals, like the giant sea bass, they have specific training sessions where they get their food. We also are doing these feedings right now with the leopard sharks, where we're hand feeding them. That way we make sure that the leopard sharks get a meal. The wolf eels in here are also fed by hand. And then for the rest of these fish here, there's this feeding, and then also a broadcast feeding where we're throwing in food, and as it rains down, the fish come up and grab that, and that's a way for the fish to kind of self-regulate. Basically, the fish that get a lot of food one time are not going to be hungry enough to come up and grab it, like you, female kelp greenling.
Yeah, it definitely helps that the fish don't need to eat as often as I do. I mean, some of the species in the wild don't necessarily eat every day, so when we offer food every day, they've got plenty of opportunities to fill up.
Exactly right. Yeah, one thing to remember about these animals is that they're, quote, cold-blooded. That doesn't necessarily mean that their blood is cold at all times. It just means that their blood is the same temperature as the water around them. So we maintain our body temperature, so we need that fuel constantly to be able to keep that machine going. For these animals, like we mentioned, if it gets colder, they slow down. If it gets warmer, they speed up.
Aha. Now, we have so many fish around you that are really showing off. We've got one of the Garibaldi down lower. The kelp greenling is looking handsome. You mentioned, for example, that the giant sea bass was a girl, and the kelp greenling was a girl. How do we tell with some of these animals which are boys and which are girls?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Now, for some of them, it's the coloration. So the female kelp greenling looks very different from the male kelp greenling. The female is sort of that orangey with the white spots. The male is more of a copper color with big blue spots on the front of its face. That's how you can tell the difference between the males and the female kelp greenlings. For the sheephead, they're all born females, and they become males later on in life with another color change. You can see that color change and know that you're looking at a male, but if you see a young one, you know it's a female. And then for the sharks that are swimming by, the males, this one's a female here. If you look at her pelvic fins there, so if you are looking at a shark, you've got the dorsal fin, the very famous one, you've got the tail fin. Then on the bottom side, you've got your pectoral fins, right, like your pecs up here. Then right around their hips are their pelvic fins, and if you see two little fingers coming off the end of those pelvic fins, those are claspers. That's how you tell the males from
here comes a male right now. He's heading towards you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so if I can bring him up here, come on up. There you go. So right here are those little claspers. You can see two little fingers sticking off the end. Those are useful for mating for the male sharks. So that's how you tell boy and girl sharks apart.
Yeah, Patrick, when you were gesturing with your shoulders, our guests noticed that you've got a lot of bubbles coming out of your wetsuit, especially out your shoulder. That's interesting. Why is that?
Yeah, so it would appear that we've got bubbles. So I think a little bit of what's happening is that we've got some air going into my wetsuit, and then being moved down into my shoulder and then out maybe a little opening in the stitching there. So we're finding out together whether or not Pat needs a new wetsuit.
You know, Patrick, we have a fun question. We've got viewers on all different platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch, and someone's wondering, are any of the fish in this kelp forest exhibit in Animal Crossing?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Let me see. Well, we have similarly named fish in here. So we have what we would call sea bass. So we got the giant sea bass, but we also have some kelp bass. Trying to see if there's one visible.
Yeah, I see a kelp bass with the coppery patches.
So over here, if it can come into view, come over here, buddy. Right here is a horse mackerel. So there's jack mackerel in Animal Crossing. So we do have one big horse / jack mackerel, kind of an interchangeable name there. And then, let me think who else we might have in here. Certainly up in the Splash Zone exhibit, we have Nemo, we have Dory, we have lionfish, those more tropical fish. And then out in the Monterey Bay, in the kelp forest, in the wild, are barred knife jaws, a handful of them that came over from Japan from the tsunami. So you'll see those there as well. And then in the deeper bay, you'll find the barrel eye and maybe a long, long time ago, some coelacanths out a little bit further south. And oarfish, of course, you'll find out here in the deep waters off of California. One of them washed up on Catalina Island. So yes, quite a few Animal Crossing fishes you'll find in here, or at least similar fish here as the ones that the designers out in Japan would have been inspired by.
Yeah, and Emily's mentioning red snapper too.
Oh yeah, red snapper. So the red snapper is in Animal Crossing is actually a tropical type of fish that is legitimately a snapper. However, we have had our own red snapper here in the Monterey Bay, which is the name that was given to all the different species of rockfish. So over here on the lower right, we've got some black and yellow rockfish, some gopher rockfish. We also have around the side over here some blue rockfish, black rockfish, all rockfish, 70 plus species here in the Monterey Bay. Those were caught and labeled as red snapper, which is good marketing, but unfortunately for a lot of these fish, they have different life histories. Some of them live 100 plus years, some of them live 10, 15 years. Some of them reproduce slowly, some of them reproduce quickly. If you bundle them all together under the same marketing term, well, you can overfish these fish, and that's exactly what happens. But thanks to the local thanks to the local fishing community, thanks to the local stakeholders, everybody worked together along the coast to rebuild these fisheries, and now there are many rockfish species that are sustainably caught here in California when they were almost extinct about 30 years ago. So kudos to everybody out there working together, the fishing community, the local Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, and the community of concerned citizens coming to the aquarium, telling everyone that sustainable seafood is important to them. We now have our fish, and we can eat them again too.
Yeah, and if you want to find out more about how you can contribute to recoveries like those rockfish who were very well marketed as red snapper, you can go to seafoodwatch.org or on their Monterey Bay Aquarium website, hit the Act for the Oceans tab above this streaming window, and you can help make seafood choices that contribute to recoveries like that story. Now, Patrick, I can see you are almost out of food.
Yeah, we are completely out here. We've got maybe a little bit of krill left over in this bucket, but yeah, we're coming up on the last little pieces of kelp forest granola here.
Yeah, so time to wrap up our things there, but it's not the only feeding you can see today. If you keep an eye out, for example, on our webcams, we'll take care of other animals, and I know with the kelp forest cam live today, we can keep an eye on our big fish, like our bigger giant sea bass. Maybe we'll see some action with them.
Absolutely, and if you folks are watching here on our website, you can head over to the Open Sea Cam, the Sea Otter Cam. You'll see more of Kristin or hear more of Kristin today during those feeding shows. And for anyone out there who's tuning in online right now, thank you so much for your support of the Monterey Bay Aquarium in these difficult times. We appreciate your support, if that's financial or just sharing this with your friends. Let the folks know that there's still really cool stuff going on in the world, lots of amazing wildlife that we share the planet with, and we really hope to be able to share all of that with you folks again very, very soon.
Yeah, we are so happy we got this chance to connect online, so thank you so much for joining us, and we will keep seeing you on social media and online at the Monterey Bay Aquarium website.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kristin.